I feel like I have a mini microphone. I do have a mini microphone. But I feel like.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Kate Danaher. I'm a managing director for S2G Investments. I manage our ocean strategy. We are a growth stage investment firm based out of Chicago, California, and Boston, and we invest across 3 sectors: sustainable food and agriculture, the energy transition, and oceans. Again, I manage the ocean sector, and within that, we cover the maritime industry.
How do you help people at this stage understand better how to be guardians?
It is
of our
good
ocean?
light, but our
Because I think we're in an interesting transition where we're moving from working with our oceans to actually needing to be able to become guardians.
I can take a picture.
Well, I wouldn't even say, I'd say working with our oceans is still actually something we're moving towards.
Yeah.
I would say we've used the ocean as a resource, but it's not a resource that has had a value assigned to it. I think the oceans is like tragedy of the commons. There's, of course, everybody has their marine protected area and their EEZ zone, but there's no real rules of the ocean. And so as a result, because there's no ownership in the way that we have property ownership, we haven't been good stewards of the ocean because nobody has to be held accountable to the ocean. So I think we're moving towards that. Part of our job, working in the private sector, especially in the investing industry, people understand food and agriculture. They understand, because they touch food and eat food every day, they understand why it's important to move from high-intensity agricultural farming with pesticides or row crops to something that's more regenerative, because they can feel it, they can touch it. Energy, people I think mainly understand why we need to move from fossil fuel use to something more renewable and sustainable, because they experience in certain countries brownouts every day. Like they experience in their lives.
When you experience a lack, you start to understand why something needs to.
With the oceans, many of the people who experience the need for change aren't necessarily the people who also have voices, right? Like a lot of this world, I don't know the exact stat, but billions of people rely on the ocean as their primary source for protein. But those are mainly island communities, coastal communities that don't necessarily have a voice in like the big private markets. So part of our job as investors is to identify the opportunities where you can invest for a financial return, but also invest in a way that helps us understand more, helps us shift the needle towards something that is actually going to both serve human and planetary well-being, as well as be a good financial investment. So we're kind of the spokespeople in the private markets for the ocean. And there's just not that many of us. I mean, there's handfuls globally of investors focused entirely on oceans.
How did you end up here with that as your focus?
Yeah, I went to business school for essentially to be a social entrepreneur. I did a lot of backpacking in my 20s and early 30s, and
where did you backpack?
Mostly Asia, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, mostly Asia. And I think that in traveling all these developing countries, seeing the need for waste management or better access to food and energy, I wanted to go back into business. I didn't want to go into nonprofit work. I wanted to go into business in a way that could support development. In that process, I met a lot of entrepreneurs. I thought I could be an entrepreneur, but after getting to know what it takes to be an entrepreneur, I was like, oh no, that's not my role. So what can I do? Like, what's the thing that I can do in this world to support these people who have phenomenal ideas, a great ability to execute, and a lot of times lack of capital or lack of the right resources is what prevents them from building something life-changing. So I decided to go into finance, and that was it. So I got out of business school and I started working. I moved to San Francisco, and I started working in the impact investing sector. And it's led me here.
How do you think we need to better support our investments in terms of Because capital, of course, is like the fundamental foundational layer in order for someone to be able to be a fighter in the arena.
Right.
But beyond that, I think there are so many other things that startups face.
Yeah.
As far as challenges, as far as demands when they receive the capital.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think we can do better as far as supporting startups that we invest in?
Yeah.
In order to give them, a better chance of success.
Yeah. I mean, money is table stakes, right? It's just it's the most basic ingredient. But I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly first-time entrepreneurs, are just it's a lonely job, and you don't always know how to do something until you've actually done it, or until you failed at it, until you've really screwed it up. I think one of the best things that we could do is to actually surround founders with mentors, like operators who have built businesses themselves, because to teach somebody, to share experience with somebody so they don't have to go make the same mistake and set themselves back 6 months or spend the money they didn't need to spend. I think that good mentorship models is a really valuable tool. And that doesn't always come, like we write a check, and at S2G our greatest hope is that we have the commercial relationships, we have the technical expertise, we have ecosystem relationships to help surround these entrepreneurs, to help them scale more effectively. But honestly, I think somebody who has previously been an operator themselves is probably the best talking partner and support to an entrepreneur that's trying to build something great.
Can you think of ways that we might be able to incentivize people who are reaching retirement age? That have lived through so many, they've lived deep experiences in the maritime industry for many years. In order to be able to incentivize them to provide mentorship to people who are trying to carry the future forward.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what motivates people.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people who are nearing retirement have a hard time retiring.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that just the opportunity to mentor a younger entrepreneur would be enough. I don't know if there are enough outlets or frameworks for people to just click into. So maybe it's actually creating a near retirement or retired accelerator program. I mean, a lot of accelerator programs have mentors that support the companies, but outside of that, I mean, outside of just the goodwill that somebody who has 40 years of experience wants to extend to the next generation, I mean, a lot, again, coming from the fund side, we bring in lots of advisors as board members, as formal advisors, as operating partners into our companies, because we recognize that I'm not an operator. I bring a financial check. I do everything I can to support them, but oftentimes the person that's going to be better than me in that role is somebody who's done it before. So we often provide those opportunities to people who are retiring, who can bring their experience into our portfolio companies and our investments. So I don't know, though, otherwise, how to incentivize folks who are retiring to get involved. I would think that I would think that just making the opportunity available to them is probably enough. But